Welcome to the Five-week Linguist Show. If you want to learn a language or you teach a language, you've come to the right place. Join Janina each week for tips, resources, and advice for making engaging language learning happen anytime, anywhere.
Welcome to the Five-week Linguist Show. Over this 5-week series, we're talking all about Google Apps for learning and teaching languages. And this week we're going to talk about YouTube. I don't think YouTube started out as a Google app, but I believe Google bought it and now it's in that G Suite. So if you have a Gmail address, you can have your own YouTube channel very easily. So firstly, I want to say that YouTube is one of the largest search engines in the world, so it is one of the greatest resources on earth to get free materials to learn languages. It is amazing. Now, I get that the content isn't vetted, that we have to do that ourselves, but the possibilities for YouTube for learning and teaching languages are infinite, and I want to talk about some of my very favorites. So the very first one is recording for fluency. And I'm a huge proponent of this. It's recording yourself, or if you work with students, them recording themselves on a regular basis. It can be uncomfortable, it can feel really strange, but there's so many amazing benefits. First and foremost, if you're studying languages independently, this is a way for you to get talking. And a huge challenge in mastering languages is getting started and getting comfortable with being uncomfortable and with making lots of mistakes. And recording is a great way to do it, because you might feel silly, you might feel like you don't know what to say, but it gets you talking. And if you're an absolute beginner, read lists. Read scripts, read dialogues, read things from other places, record, and it's going to help you work through your shyness. It's going to help you with pronunciation. It's going to help you do a lot of problem solving, work through a lot of gaps, things you don't know how to say, and you'll figure out how to say it and then move on. And the progress that you get to note is astounding. Especially if you're at the novice or A level. If you do this really regularly, you will be astounded at your progress and you'll have this beautiful documentation. So we talked about doing these in Google Slides with Fishbowl, but you can also do this, save them on your YouTube channel, right? You can even make them private, or you can do it as a YouTube live. If maybe you want to just read off of a piece of paper, you can record yourself on YouTube and save your videos. Just make them private, just so you see them. And, doing this with students, that's a whole different thing. Obviously every school district is different. But I think for personal learning, this is a great tool, YouTube recording for fluency. If you work with students and, you can't publish them, anywhere, those are the rules. There's lots of ways, lots of other tools to do this, of course, that don't violate any privacy, voice memos or Vocaroo or Audacity. There's other versions of that. But I think that YouTube is I think it's really clever way to do it. I want to say that Benny Lewis, his I think it's the 90-day challenge. They do a challenge where they work towards having a conversation for a certain amount of time. I want to say that that's one of the things that they use, is they record themselves a few times throughout the challenge, and it's great because it doesn't just help you work through the shyness. It helps you have some accountability. And I can imagine if you're working on this every day, how proud so many people would feel seeing those markers, throughout the course. It can be really fast. So however you do it, do it. The next one are dialogues, and this is pretty unique to students, I would say. If you're working with other people, this is a great thing to do. Doing dialogues on YouTube, again, recording and again, following whatever the rules are. But one thing that you can do on YouTube, if there's any issues, obviously you can keep it private, but there's that possibility of being able to, use photos. So maybe people can, voices can be published, but faces can't. Again, everywhere we go, everyone's got different rules. So of course, be in compliance with that. But I think it's a really great way to, if you're allowed, having students record dialogues. If I taught college and it wasn't an issue, I think it would be really fun, because what's great about it, if everybody does a different dialogue, so, perhaps, let's talk about beginners for a second. Let's say that you've got a shopping dialogue for beginners, or something that's more advanced. You have an argument, let's say a fake argument or something, is that once you've collected these, you then have a kind of like a mini film festival, and you can get some target language food and everybody can watch the dialogues. So it can be something as simple as, memorized from a book or a beginning language book, some dialogue, the Foreign Service Institute dialogues, up to, intermediates where they've created something and performed it. So kind of like a little movie, right? You can even make a little screenplay, a little short film. If you get to work with someone else, which I think is really great. And if you get to work on your own, you can, of course, do monologues, which are a fantastic way to work on your language skills, right? Find some monologues from your target language country, and use them, listen to some, and then do your own. The next thing that I wanted to talk about for both learners and teachers is playlists. So really important, it is an amazing tool to curate content, right? You can organize French verbs, French reality shows, Spanish telenovelas, whatever it is, Korean pop, whatever it is that you're into, whatever it is you're studying, you could really, they have great functionality with playlists, and it's all organized and it's all there. The next thing that I wanted to talk about is language immersion and TPR. So language immersion is essentially learning other things in a language, through a language rather. So for example, you might learn math in another language or geography in another language. It's basically learning content in another language. And I think that YouTube is the greatest free tool out there for language immersion, because there's people doing all sorts of tutorials. They're playing the guitar, they're dancing, they're painting, they're cooking, they're doing all kinds of things. So you can easily learn languages and something else at the same time. And that TPR bit, dancing, for example, you're following along. That's total physical response. That's a language learning method. And YouTube is just a wealth of resources to do that. Think exercise videos, think tutorials, right? And what's great about exercise videos, you get that immersion and you get that total physical response, but you also get that repetition, right? If you do a video, numerous times, you're going to learn a lot, because you're going to be repeating that over and over again. And one of the last ways that I think YouTube, there's just, the possibilities are infinite and amazing, is music, right? Target language music, which I don't think is always the best tool to learn languages, because they're not written. Songs are very rarely arranged using functional conversational language, so it's not particularly useful. But there's lots of vocabulary and grammar, and most importantly, culture. Just being, having that atmosphere, right? There's playlists in all sorts of languages that you could just listen to, all for free, right on YouTube. So I do hope that these ideas will help you use this amazing tool in your language learning. And if you've got other ways that I haven't talked about, please let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time.
Thank you for listening to the 5-week Linguist Show with Janina Klimas. Join us each week here and visit us at reallifelanguage.com/reallifelanguageblog for more resources for learning and teaching languages.